Now, there are a lot of comparisons with her and another particularly polarizing housewife on Bravo, whose husband is at the center of a big embezzlement scandal, Tom Girardi. He ran a law firm, Girardi Keese. They were embezzling client funds. She has been pulled into public scrutiny because they believe that because she was married to him and he was taking advantage of these victims that he was supposedly fighting for in court, and then he was embezzling those funds, that she has some sort of culpability because her lavish lifestyle was benefited from the crimes that he was committing. Now, that same sort of judgment isn't necessarily happening with Jen Shah and her husband, even though Jen Shah has actually gone to court, pled guilty. Do you think that her husband will have to contribute to any sort of that restitution? Does he have any possible culpability? He does have a law background, so he may be a little more privy to some of the practices that she was, incorporating in her businesses.
So I will tell you, it is not uncommon for both men and women to not know about the fraud their spouses were committing. They presume they're doing a good thing. They're making money. They're helping people. It's law abiding. That wouldn't surprise me if his wife is actually telling the truth. There's no question about that.
She's 30 years younger than him. And
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if she believed she when she says I was a victim of this as well. Some people, well, you should have known. You should have asked questions. Many don't. Yeah. Coming back to, and some would say I kind of turned the other way from it. I should have asked more questions in retrospect.
Right.
But oftentimes people will say, it's not your business. This is what I do. You stay in your lane. I'll stay in mine. Let's keep the lifestyle going. Fine. Right. And you presume people are doing it the right way. To her husband, what happens is, I don't know if they have a prenup or if he has separate assets. In that probation report, they will ask for joint assets. So they're going to want to know what he has. Any joint accounts they're going to have to disclose and put in front of the court. Some defendants try to claim, well, I don't have any money, so I can't pay any court-ordered restitution. My husband or spouse wasn't a part of this. Therefore, you can't take his money. He didn't do anything wrong. And the court will say, okay, you may not have any money, but you benefit from your spouse's income where you live, health insurance. So we're going to use the total income to help justify a restitution payment. Okay, so that very well could happen here, but you can expect the government to know about his assets as well and use that when factoring in what sort of restitution payment she'll make. In prison, you make very small restitution payments because you only make like $20 or $30 a month in prison at 15 cents an hour. So she may pay $25 or $50 a quarter. But when you come home, a probation officer, and she'll be on probation for at least 3 years, if the money isn't paid back, the probation officer will establish a monthly restitution payment. Could be $500 a month, 10% of income. It really depends on what she's making, and they'll factor in her husband's income into that payment.
And it's unlikely that he'll face any criminal charges.
By now, based on my experience, if they were going to get him, they would have, and they'd have done it all together.
Yeah, so it's mostly just whatever collective money the household brings in that'll likely have to go back to paying restitution. Obviously, the forfeiture of their assets was also, equally his as well. It's interesting. It's interesting to see the double standard between the two cases and how it's easier to kind of blame the pretty blonde 30-year younger housewife, and then you have a couple like Jen Shah and Sharif that are in a similar but different position, and how there's a different reaction that people seem to have.
I'd agree with that.